Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. Bill Landis, Doug Lesmerises talking about Ohio State running backs and special teams after practice number 11 on Friday on April 10th. Bill Landis, you were there for interviews. Robby Discher, the special teams coach, Carlos Locklyn, the running backs coach, Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, two running backs who are not taking part in spring ball because they both had shoulder surgery, but they still talk to the media, and Jacobe Jackson, the running back transfer from Florida. I was not there, just so people know. We don't want to we're not trying to trick people here. I had an eye doctor appointment that I made like 4 months ago. I thought we wouldn't have anything on a Friday. I was wrong. So my pupils are dilated. So if I'm freaking you out, I apologize on the YouTube channel. But I went back and watched all the interviews, but we'll mostly get your vibes. You were there. Sure. You were partaking. Have your thoughts and feelings about the running back room for Ohio State changed at all from where you were before spring practice started, based on anything that we have seen, anything others have said, or particularly anything that was said on Friday?
I think they have a little bit. I'm trying to be aware of the fact that Carlos Locklyn has a way of talking very confidently that can just get you feeling real good about his position group real quick. So yeah, I do feel a little differently about some of the stuff that's going on in the running back room, because I also feel like if Carlos Locklyn thought like, you know what, we don't have it, maybe he wouldn't be speaking so confidently, or he'd like find a way, I think, to sort of like let us know that he's looking for something that's maybe not apparent to him at the moment. But I didn't get those vibes at all. I think he's a little frustrated, not even frustrated, just sort of, wishing that Bo Jackson and Isaiah West were available to practice this spring. And obviously they're not, but despite that, he seems pretty pleased with how things have gone in the spring. So combine that with watching what we got to watch at the Student Appreciation Day, and in particular Jacobe Jackson, but also I'd say about Physicality. I thought he looked good that day too. Yeah, I don't know that I ever felt bad about running back, but I feel decent about it, I think, especially compared to the way that Ryan Day has kind of talked about it so far this spring.
First of all, some of the coaches' interviews that we've done this spring were like 8 minutes long. Carlos Locklyn's like 21 minutes, 23 minutes. You guys didn't let him up, man. Was he trying to get out of there, or was he cool hanging out that long?
No, he was cool hanging out. It was odd too, because sometimes that happens because there are other people who are talking at the same time. But he was last. I want to say just about everybody was wrapped up probably 8 or 9 minutes into Carlos Locklyn's time, and then they just kind of let him go because he was cooking a little bit. Right? He was giving us good stuff, and I think everybody was happy to let him talk.
Quoted Martin Luther King Jr., quoted Aristotle, and said there's a sign on the door of the running backs room that says no soft batch cookies allowed in here.
That's right. Also said made some kind of metaphor about throwing dirt, but when he's throwing dirt, he's actually throwing soil because soil helps you grow. Also quoted, I thought he said Jim Rome, the radio personality, and I guess there's a motivational speaker whose name is Jim Rohn, Rohn, who he also quoted. So yeah, he was rolling.
Yeah. Also was very aware. He clearly knows the fact that that first day or two of practice when we were all in there, and it's just like who does the drills closest to where the media is allowed to stand, and it's always the running backs. And so we all caught Carlos Locklyn yelling at Physicality, and he's clearly aware of that, and was basically making the point of, I coach these guys super hard, but I love my guys. And he said, I think the last thing he said before he walked away was, I love my boys, I love them hard. And it was put that on your door, Carlos Locklyn, right? So, I mean, it was interesting. And he was sort of like, he was talking up a lot of his guys, and was sort of like, hey, you're really talking your guys up. And he's like, if I don't talk them up, who's gonna? I brought them here. Why wouldn't I talk them up? And then he also said, the reason that I have confidence in this room is because I'm leading the room. And I have confidence in myself, right? So it's like it was a great. I don't want to say performance, but it's like Carlos Locklyn. He can hold the attention when he's got a bunch of media people. I'm sure he can hold the attention whether he's talking to his running backs, whether he's talking to recruits, whether he's talking to fans, whether he's talking to media. Carlos Locklyn, when he talks, you listen.
I think I think anytime a coach speaks with the media, like it's not the end all be all, nor is it when players do. But I do think it's a window into certainly how they want to present themselves, and I think in a lot of cases how they act probably when they're around anybody. So substitute the media with the running backs on the roster or the kids who come to visit Ohio State, and I think you very quickly understand why people like Carlos Locklyn. I think he is and he's like sort of said this, and he's not that he's like an acquired taste in the sense that he's like awkward or anything like that, but he has a very specific, intense way of coaching that probably is not for everybody. But if it is for you, I bet you love him like a lot.
Yeah,
as a position coach.
Can I just say though, Keebler soft batch chocolate chip cookies? Is there anything better?
No, they're the best. Like because he said the soft batch cookie thing last year too, and like I took a little bit of exception to it because like who's out here not preferring the soft batch cookie?
That feels like a special Whatcha segment where you and I take a bag of soft batch cookies into Carlos Locklyn's office and sit down and eat them with him and just talk ball for a little bit and see if we can come around.
Yeah, I think what maybe the issue might be is if you see Carlos Locklyn, he might have like 3% body fat. It's possible he's never had a cookie. So he's saying this thing, not realizing that he is talking trash on the best kind of cookie. Yeah.
It's for his own good, right? I mean, it's like we just don't want him like, talking out of school about like, downgrading cookies when he shouldn't be doing it. The thing that struck me the most, that maybe I believe the most or would have changed my opinions the most, is Carlos Locklyn making the point that we're all aware of, but it's a reminder from him that Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, he said Bo Jackson, he had the numbers, played 4 games of high school football his senior year. Isaiah West played 5. They both came in and played as true freshmen last year. They both had shoulder injuries. Like someone said to Isaiah West, did you have it all year? And Isaiah West said, and Bo Jackson said he kind of happened in the middle of the year. So but then Carlos Locklyn also said every running back's hurt all the time, but also that they were like true freshmen and they're both bigger and stronger and they're hitting the weight room and everyone's talking about lean body mass and lowering body fat and all these kind of things. The reminder of they were young, they were kind of hurt. They didn't even play that much as high school seniors, and they're going to be bigger and stronger this year. His point about the freshman year to sophomore year leap for Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, it's hard not to buy that to some degree and maybe to a very large degree.
I think so, especially Isaiah West tore his ACL. It wasn't like, because he wasn't even involved in spring last year. Like Bo also injured his knee, but if I recall correctly, his injury in high school did not recover or not require surgery, just required like him being off of it for 2 months or something like that, which then still ended his season. But his runway, he was a little bit ahead of Isaiah, I think, when he got here in terms of being able to do some stuff. So like for Isaiah West to come off an ACL and then a torn labrum and frankly play it all as a true freshman is a bit remarkable. And the same thing is true for Bo. And Bo has not, as we discussed many times, like not a lifelong running back. He's got some receiver background in his game as well. I think both of these guys, and it's a shame they can't be on the field in the spring because I think they are missing something by not being able to do that. But there is a lot of room for growth for both these guys. And it's, everyone knows the cliche about players make their biggest leaps between freshman and sophomore year. And I do think that's true. But it can be especially true of guys who basically like don't have high school senior seasons. So I don't know exactly what that means for either guy, but I definitely believe that it means both will be better players in the fall. And some of these things we're talking about, especially with like the making guys miss stuff and a lot of things that, there's skill set involved and you can get bigger, faster, stronger, and they have, and we can talk about that. But I also think it's about reps and feel and experiencing things and reaction and banking those reactions and then learning to play off of them in the future. Just like they don't have a lot of that. And they got some of it last year. I think they'll be better for it. But, going into a sophomore year, I think both those guys stand a chance to like really take some large steps forward.
Yeah. Where are you on Jacobe Jackson? Jacobe Jackson also spoke with reporters on Friday.
I'm happy that it worked out this way because I am probably a little prone to like if I have a whatever, a preconceived notion about a guy, and then somebody tells me something that goes against that, I don't dismiss it, but like I don't believe it all that strongly. But the fact that we got to watch practice first and Jacobe Jackson started to change my mind a little bit in that practice, and then Carlos Locklyn said what he said about him, what was it, 5 days later? I'm rethinking it like pretty significantly. I think like what his impact could be. And I do think based off a lot of the stuff that Carlos Locklyn was talking about with Jacobe, his ability to catch the ball, his ability to make guys miss after the catch, pass protection, just being an old, strong dude, I kind of think he's going to be like their third down back.
So Carlos Locklyn was saying that he was looking for a 1-year guy in the portal. Like he wanted a veteran guy in the room, but like they weren't looking to like build the room. I think they think Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, and Legend Bey, and these guys are the future. They don't need a future. They needed an influx of oldness for 1 year right now. And Jacobe Jackson said that Carlos Locklyn contacted him the first day that you could contact somebody when he went right in the portal. I'm still out. And that's not it's just a reminder
like
to me,
entirely no role for him at all.
I think they just were looking for an old guy and they found an old guy.
Yeah.
That the way he said, like, I wanted an old guy. I mean, he wanted a veteran for 1 year for this room, and they went and found that a guy who fit that. Just a reminder. I mean, he was like the year at Florida that he played, because he got hurt in 25, right? He only played like 4 games. Mm-hmm. I mean, in 24, I think he was the 4th back when he transferred there, because like they had 3 guys, and then 1 guy got hurt, and then he played. It's like even the numbers he had that year, I just don't think it's going to be there. So whatever that means, I just think it's going to be about Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, because you asked him, for instance, about short yardage stuff, and that would have maybe been an opportunity for like he basically said it's everybody except Legend Bey, right? Mm-hmm. But I just don't know that, like, it's sort of CJ Donaldson wound up not being good enough to be the RB1 last year, but then had a specific role because they kind of didn't, because Bo reached the ball across the goal line and fumbled the one time. And so it's like, well, what are you going to do? But if it sounds like, if they think that West and Jackson have put on weight, they've added experience, that they can be the goal line backs. When you say third down back, do you mean like catch the ball out of the backfield? It's 3rd and 7. We need a guy who can pass protect, keep Julian Saying clean, and then if there's nobody coming, can leak out and be an option and catch the ball on 3rd and 7 and maybe get something. Is that the third down back you mean for Jacobe Jackson?
Yes, not short yardage. I don't know that there's anything discernibly different between Isaiah West, Bo Jackson, and Jacobe Jackson when it comes to short yardage, and I would rather have the ball probably in Bo or Isaiah's hands down on the goal line. But neither one of those guys could block last year. So, so like CJ Donaldson had to play against Miami. Right. Yeah, he had to play against Miami because they couldn't block Miami. It's not because they were trying to run in short yardage. So that's where I think Jacobe Jackson could carve a role for himself. Like it's a situational role, and that's great. But like, and his body of work pass blocking wise at Florida was a small sample size, but the numbers were good. So, and Bo's weren't good. And like, I don't even like Isaiah wasn't asked to do it a ton, but even when he was asked, he wasn't very good either. Like Bo got ran over like 3 times last year by like a blitzing linebacker. So maybe that's less likely to happen now that I think he said he's like 217 or something like that. Or maybe
220, like I think he said.
Yeah. So obviously he can be a stronger player, but that's where he's that's the weakest part of his game. And there are moments where that skill set is important. So yeah, when I say that's sort of what I went from thinking Jacobe Jackson's like not going to be much of a factor at all to thinking when they want a back out there who can pass protect on 3rd down, maybe he'll be the guy on the field,
but may not wind up with many touches.
No. Yeah, I don't think many touches. Yeah.
It's just because it's one of those things, like if the point is Isaiah and Bo are bigger, stronger, smarter, more veteran, healthier, and just playing more ball, then it's like, well, then why can't they do that? Like, wouldn't it be that they come far enough that now they can pass protect because they put in on 10 pounds of muscle and they know what they're supposed to do. And last year they didn't know, they weren't big enough, they weren't strong enough, and they didn't know what they were supposed to do. And now they do. So it's just like, I mean, like, it's great that he's here, but there's some of it. It's like, oh, why did you, it's just a reminder. It's like, oh, Jacobe Jackson, like, why did you come here? And it's like, the answer is because he couldn't believe Ohio State called him. Are you kidding me? I'm like a junior college guy for 3 years who went to Florida and kind of didn't do anything. And then Ohio State called me. This is not like, oh, Jacobe, what did Ohio State do to like lure you in the portal? It's like they said hello. You had me at hello, right? And I'm not like, that's not Jacobe Jackson. Like, it's great opportunity for Jacobe Jackson, but it's like a reminder of like, I just don't want anyone to get Bo. I think it's Bo and Isaiah have to be the guys. And then again, it's like, if you need to be putting in a 7th-year player on 3rd down because your main running backs can't pass protect, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, like, they really kind of should learn how to do it, I guess. I don't know. I just, there's a little bit of a vibe of like, why would we think he's going to be something that he's never been?
I don't know why anyone would think that either.
Yeah,
that's fine. But I also I think it was a good ad, right? I think they needed to add a veteran to the room, right?
Just to be there. Yes.
Yeah.
To be a backstop. Yeah. Yes. To be a veteran voice, to be break in case of emergency, like all those kind of things that you're not teaching, to have somebody that you're not like teaching how to like hold the ball when you carry it in college football, like he's been around. But then to me, it's a little bit, it's like, if Jacobe Jackson like actually has any kind of real role, it's like maybe because stuff isn't going the way it should in the rest of the room. I don't know. I don't mean to be a downer, but I was just like refreshing myself with like that whole thing. And I just don't want to expect too much.
I just don't. Yeah. And it's like, it's hard. It's a difficult conversation, I guess, to have without seeming like you're being a downer on them, but it's like rank the guys in the room by who you want to touch the ball the most. And Isaiah West and Bo Jackson and Legend Bey are ahead of Jacobe Jackson. And I think everyone in the building would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They're not holding back on Legend Bey. Nobody's holding back on Legend Bey. What do you think of that?
I think it means something. I think like it's not. Carlos Locklyn reminded us that he like talked the same way about Bo Jackson and Isaiah West last year, which, like, I guess he's proven right about Bo because Bo rushed for 1,000 yards. But as you said, like he's like, he's always gonna put his guys on a pedestal and tell us what he likes about them. And the fact that Ryan Day is there, I think, is more interesting than the Carlos Locklyn being there. But I think like Ryan Day is there clearly, and the fact that Legend's going to help him, and like Carlos Locklyn and some of the guys in the running back room are just sort of like doubling down on it. So I expect him to play a decent amount.
The idea of like who can catch the ball out of the backfield came up, and he said that Carlos Locklyn said everybody except Favor Aki, the true freshman, and Turbo Richards, who was hurt last year, are good pass catchers. So he said he wants to get.
Yeah. I know. I do it too all the time. Yeah.
Boston College to Indiana. Turbo Rogers, Ohio State. Because I always thought when Turbo Richard was at Boston College, I always thought he sounded like a hockey wing.
Turbo Richard.
And it should Turbo Richard, left wing of the Boston Bruins, originally from Montreal, playing for the original 6. Turbo Richard has transferred to the Indiana Hoosiers. Turbo Rogers. What was I saying?
Legend Bey was going to win the Doak Walker Award, I think, is where you were going.
Legend Bey and Bo Jackson are like two guys on the field at the same time, and he was saying like you could do it because like for instance, Bo or Legend can go out in the slot, right? Yep. And he said Carlos said like he's going to try to, I don't know if they said push or like sort of like suggest some packages like that to have 2 running backs on the field. What do you think of that?
They've done it in the past, so I think they'll do it now. And usually when they have done it, even if you go back to like the Curtis Samuel, Mike Weber days, it was like one of these guys is running back all the way. One of these guys is a good running back, but you can also play him as a slot receiver. They did a little bit of that, I want to say, with like Xavier Johnson and maybe Mayan Williams as the back, and then obviously they did it with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. And I think Travion, we never talked about Travion as like this guy's a slot receiver, but he's got some of that to him clearly. So it's not like it's a foreign idea. I don't know. And actually, like Bo's got the flexibility to play in the slot too. So I think you could. I think he could play Bo and Legend together. I think he could play Bo and Isaiah together. I think he could play Isaiah and Legend together, because there's just sort of that flexibility there. And Arthur Smith has done plenty of two-back stuff. He was doing it last year with the Steelers when he had Kenneth Gainwell, was kind of a Swiss Army knife kind of back, who, by the way, played for Carlos Locklyn at Memphis. It's like Carlos Locklyn's favorite player of all time is Kenneth Gainwell. I think we'll see it. I think we'll see, like, that'll be like this year's answer to like 14 personnel, I think, is we'll see a little bit more two running back stuff.
That'd be good. Fans would be more accepting of that.
I think so.
They'll take the second running back more than they'll take the fourth tight end.
Yeah.
He did say, Carlos Locklyn said he told Ryan Day, we've got 5 guys we can go to war with. So that's Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, Jacoby Jackson, Legend Bey, and
he said that in response, I think, to a question about Turbo Rogers. So I think
Turbo Rogers. Okay. Yeah. And then like Favor Aki's a true freshman who has not been playing football all that long, he was saying. So like, that's just, he's going to take some time, which is fine. And he was saying like, Favor Aki is great because you can coach him hard. And like, that's a good thing. I find it interesting, even as all the things that he said, that Bo Jackson's the most complete back in the room. He said Legend Bey is the most dynamic. He did mention like, he's got to make, like, Legend Bey has to make sure he's carrying the ball the right way.
Yeah, Legend Bey, by the way, was wearing number 44 walking off the practice field on Friday. He is number 2, and 44 is like a get your stuff together skill guy kind of jersey. And I don't know if that's the ball security stuff that Carlos Locklyn was talking about, or I don't know, maybe Legend Bey ate a Caniac combo when he was supposed to have a salad or something. But those things happen. It's not anything like I'm worried about, but I did think it was interesting that he was walking off the field in that jersey on Friday.
Is that Mike? Yeah, like Mike Allstott. You're Mike Allstott today.
You're Mike Allstott today. Yeah.
And he was talking about Legend Bey playing quarterback in high school, but he said, I told Legend, you're a fake quarterback. You're just dropping back and waiting to run. So, which of course he was, but I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a fake quarterback.
By the way, to just draw the comparison out more, Kenneth Gainwell, also a former high school quarterback.
So you put Kenneth Gainwell in a question.
Yeah.
And because
I know
both
Locklyn
Arthur
really
Smith and Locklyn have coached him, and he seemed very pleased to have that name presented to him.
Yeah, that's his guy. So I wondered if he would like embrace the idea of comparing them, or if he would just say like, Kenneth Gainwell is the standard of running backs that I've coached. For you to suggest that a true freshman who's been here for 3 weeks is anything like him is ridiculous. Like, he could have said that.
Oh, right. No, that's true. But he didn't.
He's like, no, he said like, yeah, they're pretty similar, but Legend's faster.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe my favorite thing he said was when he was talking about Memphis, and he said that like Memphis is Carlos Locklyn saying Memphis is his second home. And he was talking about Arthur Smith being from Memphis and how gritty Memphis is. And I was waiting for him to say Arthur Smith was the grittiest billionaire in Memphis.
I thought that was really like, no one said anything, but I hope everyone was thinking it, because it's not like, I know, whatever, Arthur Smith, you can be tough and rich, but like to say that Arthur Smith, son of the FedEx billionaire, is representative of Grind City it's not exactly the route that I would have gone.
Yeah, man, I was talking to Arthur's butler, and Arthur's butler was saying that guy is gritty as heck. It's just funny. Anything else about the running backs that you want to cover? We did talk. You guys did. You talked about Jackson. You talked to Isaiah West. You talked to Jacoby Jackson. Anything pop the most from those young fellas?
I just thought, like, especially Bo and Isaiah talking about how much they've transformed, excuse me, physically. Especially like they're both like, I don't know. It's weird. Like they almost look smaller, like on television with their pads on, than they do when you're standing right next to them. They're both pretty big dudes, like very sturdy guys. And Jacoby Jackson's a grown man, so of course he is. But like the two sophomore guys that we talked to, you could just tell they were putting in a lot of time in the weight room. And like I certainly, like, thinking about the short yardage thing and how things ended up going last year, to hear I think you're right. The Bo was like 220, and Isaiah said he was 220, but then Carlos Locklyn said Isaiah was like 223. To see that they have both kind of changed their bodies that way makes me feel a little better about their ability to handle the short yardage stuff that they weren't as equipped to handle last year.
Yeah. A couple questions to Bo about, like, did you, how seriously did you maybe consider transferring? And he just said, what was the phrase he used? He used it a couple times. Kind of gave short answer, but this is where I want to be. So I'm where I want to be. This is where I want to be. So this is where he is. I don't know that
he's here. Yeah,
we were going to get much more than that out of that. So he is here, and that's what matters. And like, they'll be ready by summer, right? That's like they're in the weight room right now. They're doing all the mental rep stuff, but they're not out practicing. But like, they'll be ready to start moving around, I think, and doing stuff fully. And again, it's shoulders for both of them.
Yeah, but neither one had like a brace on that I could tell. Right. Sometimes you see that like kind of bulky shoulder brace. They might have had like a wrap or something, but neither one of them had that big shoulder brace.
Yeah. Okay. You want to talk about special teams a little bit?
Yeah. Robby Discher.
Do you know this? Do you know who Robby Discher went to college with? Who was college football teammates with? I didn't know it until today.
Where did he go?
Went to William Jewell College in Missouri.
Oh yeah, Dan Lanning. Yeah.
And they played together like 2 years. Dan Lanning was a linebacker and Robby Discher was a receiver. And then I was looking it up, and James Crepea, our buddy over at Oregon Live, wrote a story about it a couple years ago when Illinois played Oregon. So, and Robby Discher said that, no, who was it? It was someone's wife went to high school with the other. I don't know if it was Dan Lanning's wife went to high school with Robby Discher or Robby Discher's. I think that's right. I think Dan Lanning's wife went to high school with Robby Discher. So anyway, Dan Lanning and Robby Discher know each other. You know how I am. I watched the whole interview. This is the question that I would have asked that was not asked of the new special teams coach. Ohio State missed a 27-yard field goal in the Big Ten title game in the fourth quarter that would have sent that game into overtime. What can you do as a special teams coach to make sure that doesn't happen this year to Ohio State? And I would have been curious to see what he might have said to something like that, because let me ask a second question before I let you answer the first question. If Jaden Fielding makes that field goal, is Robby Discher Ohio State special teams coach?
Yeah, I think so.
You still think so? Okay.
Yeah.
Because like that,
I actually don't think special teams coordinators have a whole lot to do with whether or not a kid makes or misses or makes a field goal.
Which I would be interested in hearing. Because
I don't know if they can say that, but
because I think, and I write that does Ohio State have like a kicking specialist, right? That sometimes a special teams coach isn't even like
actually don't
but
know.
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing if not shaping the pressure mindset of like the two most important guys that you're coaching on special teams? Because it's like, well, you got to make sure that whatever the third string linebacker runs down the field in the right place and is in the right spot to make a tackle on kick coverage. But also like the plays that matter, the field goals are the plays that matter the most, because he was asked about, Ryan Day saying he wants Joey McGuire to have better hang time and kick it a couple yards, punt it a couple yards farther this year. So he talked about that. So I don't know, like I agree with you, but yet also I would want, if I'm paying Robby Discher to be the guy, I want Robby Discher to have some opinion on how we can make sure our kicker doesn't miss 27 yarders when pressure's on.
I'm sure he has an opinion about it, and you're right. He should have been asked about it. And I think, you can, as best you can, create simulations in practice of those high pressure situations, or I don't know, make your kicker. It's like what you do in basketball, right? Make them run till they can't stand up anymore, and then go kick a field goal, right? You do the same thing, like make basketball players run till they can't stand up, and then make them go shoot free throws. I think it's pretty similar. I do like kicking. To me, it's like pitching in baseball. Like if you haven't done it, you can't coach it. So I don't know. Robby Discher was not a kicker. I know like Gunnar Daniel, who's part of the special teams operation at Ohio State, I think who does work a little more closely with the kickers, I think was a long snapper. So it's like they're in the world of special teams, but it's a very specialized thing to kick a football. So I think there are limits to what a coach can actually impart on those guys, unless you are specifically a kicking trainer, which most teams, pro and college, I think don't have. I've seen plenty of stories about that over the years, right? Like, why don't teams have kicking specialists? And this money is probably the answer. But So I don't know.
It's hard because, like, if you said, what's the number one thing that Ohio State special teams has to do this year, especially maybe in comparison to what they didn't do in the recent past, it's make clutch field goals. That's
I mean, that's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
That's the most obvious thing. Like their punt operation has not been good. They're giving up too much in field position. There's a lot of hitting yardage out there, both punting and punt return, that a team like Ohio State shouldn't give up. So yeah. I think I understand that's like the sexiest thing in the world, and I'm not going to talk to people about what they were better at hitting yardage if Connor Hawkins like misses whatever a 30-yarder to win a game next year. But I think that that is where guys like Robby Discher like really earn their keep. Are you efficient? Which I don't think Ohio State has been efficient enough on special teams. And like, are you making splash plays? Are you blocking kicks? Or are you returning kicks? Again, like whether or not the guy makes a 25-yarder, there's only so much you can do, I think, as a coach in that particular scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like if it comes down to Ohio State has to make that kick, what percent of that is Connor Hawkins and what percent of that is Robby Discher? Because those are the two people that they brought in to make that happen, right?
I think it's 99% Connor Hawkins.
99-1. Yeah. But I
guess it's like, it's also like snapper holder, I guess. So like they brought in a new long snapper. Joe McGuire's the holder. So like that whole operation obviously has to be clean and fast. But that's still all right. Then we're talking like 97% the kicker.
But if that happened, if Robby Discher is the full-time special teams coach and they miss a clutch field goal, and we ask Robby Discher about it, and Robby Discher goes, well, I don't know. What are you going to do? It's not my fault. He's the kicker. I don't know if I would accept that as the answer entirely, right?
Well, I'm trying to. I think you put it on whose decision it was to bring the kicker in. You have to discern whether or not the guy you're bringing in can make clutch kicks, and then his ability to do that or not is a referendum on your evaluation. So, but I don't know. I think Discher might have gotten hired after Hawkins was added to the roster. So like he's good. Yeah. Robby Discher's clean and clear of any field goal fiascos this year that involve a kicker missing a field goal. Not Robby Discher's fault.
So what do you think of the overall special teams vibes from Robby Discher, who also spoke for quite a long time, nearly 20 minutes?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like I thought, I think clearly he's pretty passionate about it. And, I don't know how much you can glean about someone's like organizational skills from just talking to them, but he seems to have a pretty well thought out process for how special teams should look, how it should operate, who should be a part of it, how important it needs to be to a team. So, like in terms of other people that have been in that role over the years, he seemed to be sort of like the most kind of serious about it, I would say, and I think that matters.
At a super high bar here at Ohio State when it comes to special teams coaching. Yes. I am curious. So in 2023, Illinois, I think, blocked 7 kicks. His first year in Illinois, I think that led the country. And Brett Bielema, I think, always has a little bit of a special teams reputation, does he not? That like Bielema, I think, is pretty. Iowa. Yeah, that's true. But I would be a little curious of like their blocks, the history of Robby Discher when his guys have blocked a kick, blocked a punt. How often has that come from the head coach? Like, let's go after it here. How often has that come from Robby Discher? I see something here. How like many designs does he have of like, how does he find advantages, like that kind of thing? And then one of the things that I remain fascinated about is even a place like Illinois. I feel a place like Illinois, you've got to take a few extra risks to try to elevate yourself. And at Ohio State, you don't have to block kicks to win big games. It's a bonus, and we've certainly seen that. I mean, the Denzel Ward block, whatever that. There are moments where it really matters. But like the risk reward, how you assess risk in special teams when you are coaching at one of the 3 best programs in the country, like he probably would say something like, "Well, you want to do the best you can in every situation," and which is probably the only answer you're going to get from a coach there. But I'm curious about that. Like, I'm curious if the presence of Robby Discher signals anything of should Ohio State fans expect more blocks this year? I don't know.
I tried to ask like 2 different versions of that. And I probably could have asked it differently. So I asked them first, like, how does aggression fit into your overall special teams philosophy?
Yes, aggression.
And then I also asked him, like, the 2 years ago when I did have that many blocks, like, in your mind, was that more you scheming stuff up, or did you just have a couple guys that year who were just really good at that? And of course his answer was like both. He put it more on the players. He said, like, when that stuff happens, because you have the right guys to do it. The thing I didn't ask that I wanted to, but I don't know if I was like afraid it was going to sound a little silly or what, but so I didn't ask it. But I remember, I'm pretty sure we saw this on one of the special teams periods early on in practice. Must have been one of those first 2 days. Chris Henry Jr., who's 19 feet tall, was like standing in the middle of the line on pump block. And I wonder, like, if you look at like Chris Henry Jr., or you look at like Braxton Renbert, who's also incredibly tall, is there something there for guys like that like they're just unusually long football players and they're not linemen, so they got some quick the quickness and speed to them too. Like, is there anything you can tap into there to get some more blocks? I don't know. Maybe I should have asked it, but I didn't. But I thought his answer was not like, we're aggressive all the time, we should be. But I think he views special teams as something that should be a weapon, right? And which would be like a drastic change for Ohio State over the last, I don't know, since Urban left. So I think it's not ultimately his call, it's Ryan Day's call, to your point. So like that's sort of the thing that was left unsaid. But I don't know, like my vibe from him is that like he wants to scheme it up a little bit on special teams in a way that I think will help Ohio State.
When's the last time they had a great guy off the edge who was a real punt blocking threat? Has there been one since Denzel Ward? Did Carnell Tate block a punt one time? I feel like Chris Olave.
Chris Olave blocked a couple. I mean, Chris Olave blocked one against Michigan famously, but then I also think he blocked one against Indiana the next year.
Like, I would be curious, like, because you guys were getting him talking about that he said like his family's not here, so he's watching all the practice footage at night and trying to identify skill sets and writing stuff down in a notebook of whatever. It's like, because it's one of those, if he says, oh, we just had good guys at Illinois and that's why we blocked 7 punts, guess where you have good guys? Ohio State. Right. If they want to do it, it's not like, well, I wish we could block some punts. We just don't have any athletes. It's like, nope, that is not the answer at Ohio State. So I would be curious, like, who can be that? If Denzel Ward and Chris Olave have been that, like, could Jerquaden Guilford be that? Could Dominic Kelly be that? Like, who are the guys that he maybe would identify who could be real threats off the edge with their speed and their get off to be a threat to block punts? I'd be curious about that.
Yeah, me too. And I think, they have a lot of speed.
They do.
You and I have sort of been talking about, like, and we haven't asked about it yet. Maybe we'll write about it someday, but it seems like they have more team speed than for a place that usually has good team speed. They might like have like even more of it this year with some of the guys they brought in. So
yeah,
especially in the corner and receiver room. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it wouldn't be unorthodox as we're talking about Chris Olave, but it just felt like for instance, like when Chris Olave was here, it wasn't 100% bankable because it wasn't like he had 10 block kicks, but it did sort of feel like he was good for one every year, and they were going to find a way to spring him loose to try to get one. And I'm thinking maybe they have some of that in the room this year that they can tap into, and they have a special teams coordinator who I think is, he's not going to be also coaching the defensive backs or doing anything else. He's going to be totally dialed in on drawing stuff up like that on special teams.
What did you think of the vibe you got from him when it comes to the punt returner in the make sure you have a guy who's going to catch it versus having an explosive dynamic guy back there, which, Brandon Inniss is not the most explosive player in Ohio State's roster. He was the punt returner last year, but then there were even some moments early in the season, right, where it felt like, okay, well, he's supposed to be back there because he's reliable, but how reliable is he? I'm assuming Brandon Inniss is going to be the punt returner until proven otherwise, because it's just like, I feel like you can always get, like, whenever we always see special teams parts of practice, right? And whenever they're like, so we see the punt returner practice, like, oh, who's back with the punt returners? Like the 9 most dynamic guys on the team. It's like Jeremiah Smith's back there, right? And Caleb Downs is back there. And it's like, are they going to return punts? It's like, no, Jeremiah Smith's not going to return a punt. So I'm going to assume it's going to be Brandon Inniss, unless you tell me otherwise, because Robby Discher is here and maybe the thinking has changed.
Well, he didn't say any specific players. He was asked. I think Gerd asked him. But he did say that he views decisions on who could return the ball the same way that offensive coaches view getting the ball into the hands of the best playmakers in space. Now, he said, like, we can't control always where that space is because we can't tell the team where to kick us the ball. But I think as much as he can, he wants to create those environments where guys who are dynamic with the ball in their hands have the ball in their hands with some room to do some stuff. So now he could believe that and maybe still make the returner Brandon Innes because maybe, I don't know, Legend Bey can't really field punts all that great, or neither can like Devin McEwen, who's got really good long speed. So, but I do think if those guys can catch it, then I would probably be surprised if there wasn't someone a little more dynamic returning punts this year.
Who would you like to see be the number one punt returner?
I would like it to be Legend because I think he's got like the most sort of like wiggle of anybody on the team. But you know, you're putting a freshman in big spots there, and you want to make sure it's catching a punt hard. Like I don't know how many people have tried to do just like standing there, nobody running at you, somebody punts a ball to you from 40 yards away. It's hard to catch. Same thing on a kickoff. So if Legend can handle that, then I think it would be him. I guess they've not really ever kind of turned that over to a freshman. So maybe that's wishful thinking, but you know, the way they've talked about Devin McEwen or Kyle Parker, maybe it could be one of those two guys. I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody like in the defensive back room, a la Caleb Downs, who's like got some offensive skill set. Maybe they could do it too. But I would say like my top three would be Bey, Parker, McEwen in some order.
Okay. Anything else? Vibe checks, after practice, random thoughts, stray observations?
I did. It's very crowded over there when you go to a Friday or Saturday practice. I was walking from the softball stadium over to the Woody, and they were practicing outside. I did hear them say that Jay Timmons had an interception in practice over the loudspeaker. Dominic Kelly lost his black stripe. He was the only one to lose his black stripe. He is the 10th player to lose his black stripe. 9 of them are transfers. The only freshman still who has lost his black stripe is Brock Boyd. And also 6 of the 10 are on defense.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. So Ohio State has practices next week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Spring game on Saturday, April 18th. We will have these videos here on this podcast feed, this YouTube feed, after those 3 practices. And then we, of course, will have a ton of coverage from the spring game. We'll also have Around the Shoe, I think, next Tuesday, because we do have the Monday and the Wednesday reaction stuff. Yeah, good spring. It's ball talk.
Good spring. Next week, talk to Ryan Day on Monday, and then big interview day on Wednesday. O-line and D-line on the same day.
You taking O-line?
Yeah, well, it's weird because we're also scheduled to talk with Carson Hinsman and Luke Montgomery, who we've already spoken to this spring.
Oh.
But they're like, I guess they're not going to send out Austin Sareveld or Philip Daniels because they're on the injury recovery. So
we talked, but we got Isaiah West and Bo Jackson.
Sure. Maybe we can send an email to ask if we can switch that up a little bit.
Or at least
I think we're going to get Ian Moore.
Is Ian Moore? Ian Moore. Yeah.
Ian. So it said Ian, I think it's Geske is how you say it. Who's like a former club player, offensive lineman, but I'm assuming that was a typo and just the wrong Ian was put on the list.
The right Ian. All right. Thanks to you guys for being here. Go check us out over on the Substack, Bill and Doug OSU.substack.com. And yeah, we got one more week of spring ball. So thanks as always for your patronage, for hanging out with us here on this show for now. And thanks for going over there, Landis, while I was getting my eyes checked out.
I had nothing better to do, so I'm happy to do it.
I saw, did you see the Illinois athletic director, Josh Whitman, is going to be out for a little bit because he's having detached retina surgery, and then he's going to have another detached retina surgery.
I can't wait for your interview to interview him at Big Ten Media Days about
I know. I'm just gonna, if you see us, like, just big bro hug, it'd be like the retina boys over there hanging out. Because once you have detached retina, so I went to the detached retina doctor and just had my follow up, and I'm all good. I don't have to go to the detached retina doctor anymore. But you have to just lay on your face for a week. So like his thing was like, during my recovery, I won't be able to go. It's like you're gonna be laying on your face for a week is what he means. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad for him because he's having, it sounds like, a preventative second surgery of like, well, one's already detached. Let's just get the other one like. You sort of like firm it up before it detaches. And like when my first one detached, I was like, should we firm up my other one? They're like, no, you're good. And then like 2 months later, my second one detached in Boston. And I was like, maybe we should have like been proactive here. So anyway, Josh and I will hug it out. But that's why I wasn't at interviews. I'm sure everybody was asking about me, right? Where's Doug? Where's Doug? Oh my gosh, we can't do interviews without Doug.
Stephen Means said, where's the French one? I thought that was a funny way to ask where you were. By the way, what was I looking at? Oh, people care about these things sometimes, I think. Speaking of Big Ten Media Days, 3 days in July 28, 29, 30. Ohio State is on the 29th, second day of Big Ten Media Days. Which we will remind you of that closer too.
Is it a Wednesday? Is it Tuesday, Wednesday,
that's
Thursday?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll be Wednesday the 29th.
And look for that very special documentary on the Bill and Doug Show, 3 days in July.
That's right.
Big Ten Media, inside Big Ten Media Days. What really happens? Thanks you guys for being here for now. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.